My daughter called her stepfather Dad, so I took everything back. Chapter 1. The Dinner That Killed Hope. She said it with a smile. That mocking, entitled little smirk that didn't even look like her anymore. At least Mom's new husband isn't a poor loser like you. The clink of silverware froze mid-air. Her voice, too loud and too polished, sliced through the stillness of my kitchen like a serrated knife. My ex-wife sat at the end of the table, swirling her wine with smug satisfaction, like she hadn't just whispered that poison into our daughter's ear days earlier. I didn't respond. I just chewed slowly, swallowed, and reached for my water as if I hadn't just been gutted in front of the only two people I used to call my family. But that silence? It wasn't awkward. It was deeper. Something in me broke. There was a time Sarah used to run into my arms after ballet class. "You're my hero, Daddy," she'd whisper. And I believed her. Even after the divorce, I stayed close. I paid for everything, her tuition, her car, even that summer in Paris she loved to brag about. All of it came from my skipped vacations, long workdays, and ignored needs. I never asked for anything. But Laura, my ex, left me for a man with an empty smile and a loaded credit card. And then she slowly, meticulously poisoned Sarah. I watched it happen, comment by comment. The eye rolls, the coldness, and finally, that night. That dinner wasn't just a meal. It was a funeral. For hope. And the worst part? I still paid for it all. But that night, something inside me snapped, and I decided I wouldn't pay for one more insult. Chapter 2. I stopped paying for disrespect. After that dinner, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling for hours, my mind unraveling every sacrifice I'd made. For what? For a daughter who now rolled her eyes at me. For an ex-wife who fed her poison and wore my support like a trophy she never earned. I had stayed silent too long. And they had mistaken that silence for surrender. But they forgot, I was the one who funded their illusion. I knew every brick, every loophole. I built it. I could tear it down. So I started. The education fund? In my name. Legally mine. Laura had never read the fine print, just assumed I'd keep paying to avoid conflict. I called the bank and froze it. Sarah's car? Leased under my business account. I canceled the contract and had it towed from her school parking lot before sunrise. Her university account? I removed access. No more meal plans. No more dorm expenses. No more quiet deposits for books. I rerouted all communications to my private email. Fall registration? Frozen. Then I waited. At exactly 6:43 p.m., the panic arrived. Laura's call came first. Her voice was trembling beneath forced rage. "What did you do?" Sarah called me crying. "Her car's gone. Her account's locked. What the hell is wrong with you?" I took a breath. I stopped sponsoring disrespect. "You can't just." "I can." "I did. And I will again if you keep pushing." Silence. "You're punishing your daughter." "No. I'm teaching her what consequences look like." She hung up. I smiled. For the first time in months. And just 2 days later, a knock came at my door, and it wasn't Laura. Chapter 3. The Knock at the Door. 2 days after the chaos, just before sunset, there was a knock at my door. It wasn't Laura. It was Sarah. She stood there on the porch, shoulders hunched, eyes puffy, nails chewed down to nothing. No makeup, no designer coat. Her clothes were borrowed, wrinkled, unfamiliar. Gone was the polished, untouchable version of my daughter, the one sculpted by her mother's bitterness and my money. For the first time in years she looked real. "I need help," she whispered. I didn't say a word. I simply stepped aside and let the silence speak louder than anything. She broke. Tears poured down her face as she stood there trembling. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said. It was just a joke. Mom said, she told me you wouldn't care." I looked at her. Really looked. Not the teenager who mocked me at dinner. Not the stranger who had called another man Dad. I saw the little girl who used to fall asleep in the car seat after ballet practice. The one who used to ask if I'd still love her when she got old. "I never wanted you to love me for money," I said softly. "But I won't let you hate me and still take from me." "I don't hate you," she sobbed. "I was stupid. I thought." She stopped. "I just wanted to fit in. I didn't mean what I said at dinner." "Yes, you did," I replied gently. "And that's okay. Now, you'll learn what it costs." I didn't hand her the car keys. I didn't write a check. I gave her something more valuable. Responsibility. That night, I closed the door, not in anger but in acceptance. And Sarah walked away into the world she helped burn, ready to rebuild. Chapter 4. The Cost of Cruelty. Sarah got a part-time job at a bookstore near campus. She moved in with a friend, shared a cramped apartment with peeling paint and creaky floors. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy. But for the first time in her life, she earned something without me. She learned how to budget. How to stretch $40 across 5 days. How to swallow pride when rent was due and payday hadn't hit. And slowly the venom faded. Laura kept calling, of course. Voicemails full of rage, blame, or fake concern. You're ruining her life. No, I was saving her from yours. I never answered. But I listened. I wanted to hear the panic in her voice as the foundation she built on borrowed charm and my money began to crack. And then it collapsed. Her husband's business imploded. Turns out it was all smoke and mirrors. Credit lines maxed out. Bank accounts drained. Lawsuits incoming. Her Instagram went dark. No more staged photos on yachts. No more fake power couple captions. Gravity did the rest. I never had to lift a finger. Meanwhile, Sarah stopped asking for help. She started sending updates instead. A picture of her with coworkers behind a cash register. A used textbook she bought on her own. A quiet message. Thank you for being tough when I needed it. It was short, but it was everything. And then one morning an unexpected knock came again, but this time it wasn't Sarah or Laura, it was someone else entirely. Chapter 5. The Power of Walking Away. The knock was soft. Hesitant. I opened the door to find a man in a wrinkled polo shirt, eyes tired, mouth twitching with embarrassment. Are you her father? He asked. He didn't have to say who. He introduced himself as Sarah's manager. Said she'd been working extra shifts. That she never complained, but she passed out in the stockroom that morning. She hadn't eaten in almost 2 days. My chest tightened. She insisted she didn't want to call you, he added quickly. Said she didn't deserve to. I nodded. When I got to her apartment, she was curled up on a second-hand futon, wrapped in a blanket that looked too thin for the cold. She sat up, startled. I didn't want you to see me like this, she whispered. I knelt in front of her. You worked. You tried. That's all I ever wanted. Tears welled in her eyes. Not the manipulative kind. Not the entitled kind. Just real. We didn't talk about the past. Not that day. We just sat on that old futon, quietly breathing in the wreckage and beginning again. Laura's name never came up. She had faded into the background, just like her husband's empire, built on debt and performance. The kind of legacy that collapses under its own ego. I didn't gloat. I didn't punish. I simply stayed still, and let time reveal what truth never had to shout. Because people think revenge is loud, explosive. But the most powerful revenge is silence. It doesn't destroy. It reveals. And when the dust settles, they don't see your weakness. They finally see your strength.